My siblings got luxury gifts, while I got cheap soap. Now everything's falling apart. Hey everyone, I'm Alex, and I'm 29 years old. What I'm about to tell you is so absurd that sometimes even I can't believe it happened. This is the story of how my family treated me like the black sheep for years, only to discover that I was the one with the resources to help them all along. But let me start from the beginning. I grew up as the middle child in a family that, well, let's just say they had their favorites crystal clear. My older brother Rick was always the successful one. Studied medicine, married a girl from a good family, has his own private practice. My younger sister Sophie was the princess of the house, the spoiled one, the one who always got what she wanted with a smile and a few strategic tears. And me, I was just Alex, the programmer, the one who worked with computers, and according to my family, didn't have a real profession. My parents never said it directly, but it was always obvious. When Rick bought a new car, it was, "Our doctor son is so successful." When Sophie got a job in marketing, it was, "Our princess is going to conquer the world." When I told them about my software development projects, I got an "Oh, that's nice, honey," and they'd change the subject. Nothing like the classic family dynamic where the kid who doesn't fit the traditional mold is automatically the least valuable. Because clearly, working with computers isn't a real job, right? The whole thing became really obvious during birthdays and Christmas. Rick always got expensive gifts, watches, suits, trips. Sophie got jewelry, designer bags, latest electronics. I got, well, whatever was left in the budget. A generic shirt, some random book, or in the most memorable occasion of all, a set of cheap soaps from the drugstore. Yes, you read that right. Soaps. From CVS. With Ocean Breeze fragrance or something like that. When I opened that gift last Christmas, my sister laughed and said, "At least now you'll smell better when you're glued to your computer all day." My parents smiled like it was the funniest joke in the world. Rick didn't even look up from his new watch, a Rolex my parents had given him, because a successful doctor needs to look professional. I smiled, said thank you, and put the soaps away. What else could I do? But here's where it gets interesting. While my family saw me as the family failure, I had been building something. For years, I worked day and night developing apps, creating systems for companies, investing in cryptocurrency when nobody even knew what it was. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a used car, wore simple clothes. Not because I couldn't afford better, but because I didn't care about impressing anyone. Ah, the irony. While everyone was playing the appearances game, the failure was quietly building an empire. It's like watching a movie where you know the plot twist from the beginning, but the characters don't. The breaking point came 3 months ago. My dad got sick, something serious that required expensive surgery. Public health insurance was going to take months, and private surgery cost a fortune. The family went into panic mode. Rick, the successful doctor, turned out to have his own financial problems. His practice wasn't doing as well as he bragged about. He had debts from his specialization and his house loan. Sophie worked at a marketing company that barely paid enough for her expenses and her Instagram lifestyle. During a family meeting, my parents were desperately looking for options. Rick suggested taking out loans. Sophie proposed doing a GoFundMe. I stayed quiet, listening. Then my mom looked at me and said, "Alex, I know you don't have much, but could you help with something? Even just a few $1,000s?" There it was. Confirmation that they really thought I was some broke loser. I got up, went to my car, and came back with my laptop. "Let me show you something," I said. I opened my banking app and turned the screen toward them. The silence that followed was delicious. Picture their faces. It's like that moment in movies when the quiet nerd takes off his glasses and turns out to be Superman. Except instead of muscles, it was digits in a bank account. I had more money in that account than all of them made together in 2 years. And that was just one of my accounts. "How?" Rick stammered. "Where did you get so much money?" Sophie asked with her eyes wide as saucers. I explained about my apps, my investments, the contracts I'd gotten with international companies. While they thought I was playing with computers, I had created 3 apps that were selling internationally, developed systems for banks in Europe, and invested in startups that were now worth millions. My dad, from his hospital bed, looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. It was respect. For the first time in my life, I saw respect in his eyes. "Can you help with the surgery?" my mom asked quietly. Of course, I replied. But first, we need to talk about some things. And here comes the satisfying part of the story. I told them I would pay for the entire surgery. Not just that, but I would get the best private surgeon in the country. But I also made it very clear that things were going to change. For years, you've treated me like I was. Failure, I told them. You've given me cheap soaps while giving Rick Rolexes. You've mocked my work, minimized my achievements, and assumed I had nothing to offer. Rick tried to interrupt. Bro, we never... Yes, you did, I cut him off. And now that you need help, suddenly I matter. Nothing like necessity to make people recognize your worth. It's amazing how money can instantly change family perception. Who would have thought? I paid for my dad's surgery. The best private surgery available. He recovered completely. But I also made some things clear. First, no more cheap gifts for me while others get luxury items. If you can't give me something decent, I'd rather you give me nothing. Second, no more disparaging comments about my work. My playing with computers had made me more successful than any of them. Third, if they wanted my financial help in the future, they would have to ask for it with respect, not assuming it was their right. The family dynamic changed overnight. Suddenly everyone wanted to know about my computer projects. Rick started asking me about investments. Sophie wanted me to give her advice about digital entrepreneurship. But the most noticeable change was at Christmas this year. When December came around, my family was clearly nervous about gifts. Rick gave me an expensive watch, not as expensive as his Rolex, but significantly better than the previous year's soaps. Sophie gave me a tech gadget she had, specifically researched for me. My parents gave me a blank check. So you can buy whatever you really want, my dad said. I, for my part, gave everyone appropriate gifts. But I also gave them something else. I showed them the financial statements from my latest company, which I had sold to a US corporation for an amount that left them speechless. Ah, the sweet revenge of Christmas, where cheap soaps transform into blank checks. It's like a holiday movie, but with more poetic justice. I want you to understand something, I told them. I'm not doing this to show off. I'm doing this so you know that when you underestimated me, when you gave me soaps while Rick got Rolexes, it wasn't because I didn't have value. It was because you didn't know how to see it. My sister started crying. Alex, forgive us. We didn't know. Yes, you did, I replied calmly. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't care because you thought I had nothing to offer. Update 1. It's been 6 months since that Christmas, and I can say things have changed dramatically. Rick came to see me 2 months ago. His medical practice is in serious financial trouble. He asked me for a loan to save his practice. I lent him the money with interest and a formal contract. Now he pays me monthly, and believe me, he's never again made comments about my lack of a real profession. Sophie lost her job at the marketing company and asked me for help starting her own business. I offered to be her investor partner, but with clear terms I have 60% of the company and final say in all major decisions. She accepted without hesitation. My parents have made a complete attitude change. Now I'm the son they consult for important decisions. When they bought their new house, yes, I helped with the down payment, they asked my opinion on everything from location to mortgage terms. It's fascinating how money can completely redefine family hierarchies. The one who was invisible before is now the de facto boss. Life has a very peculiar sense of humor, but the most satisfying thing has been seeing how they treat me at family gatherings. I'm no longer the weird brother who works with computers. Now I'm Alex, the successful entrepreneur. When I arrive at a family gathering, everyone wants to hear my business stories. When I speak, everyone listens. Last month, at my mum's birthday, Rick introduced me to his doctor friends as my brother, the tech mogul. Sophie introduces me on her social media as my brother, the CEO. My parents don't miss an opportunity to brag about me to their friends. Update 2. The ultimate test of how much things had changed came a month ago. My cousin Andrew, son of my dad's brother, was getting married. It was a big, expensive wedding, and the family was organizing the group gift. Traditionally, these decisions were made by my parents along with Rick, him being the successful one in the family. This time, they came straight to me. What do you think we should give him? My dad asked me. How much do you think each family should contribute? My uncle consulted me. It was surreal. The same uncle who years ago had commented that Alex should get a real job was now asking me for financial advice. I decided it was time to make a statement. I told them I would cover the entire family gift, something significant and memorable. When everyone protested, saying it was too much, I reminded them. Wasn't I the one who didn't have a real profession? The one who couldn't afford nice things? The silence was eloquent. There's something deeply satisfying about using people's own words against them years later. It's like a boomerang, but with more style and better timing. I gave my cousins a complete honeymoon in Europe. First-class flights, 5-star hotels, private tours. The gift was so spectacular, it became the talk of the entire wedding. During the EE reception, I heard several relatives commenting, "Did you know Alex is a millionaire? How did we not realize how successful he was? We always knew that kid would go far." That last one made me laugh. They always knew. Sure. Update 3. Now, almost a year after that Christmas revelation, I can say my family life is completely different. But it hasn't all been satisfaction and sweet revenge. I've learned something important. When you change the power dynamic in a family, you also change relationships. I no longer have the same close, uncomplicated relationship I had before with some family members. Now there's an element of financial interest in many of our interactions. Rick, for example, clearly feels uncomfortable with our new arrangement. He religiously pays his loan every month, but I notice some tension when we're together. It's like he doesn't know whether to relate to me as a brother or as a lender. Sophie, on the other hand, has thrived with our joint business, but sometimes I feel our conversations revolve more around work than family. My parents treat me with a respect I'd never experienced, but sometimes I miss when I could just be their son, not their financial advisor. Turns out getting family respect has its price. Who would have thought that being the family bank would come with emotional complications? Real life is always more complex than fairy tales. Don't get me wrong, I don't regret anything. It was necessary for them to understand my value, and it was important for the unfair dynamics to change. But I've learned that poetic justice comes with its own responsibilities. Last month, during a family dinner, my niece, Rick's daughter, innocently asked me, "Uncle Alex, why does everyone always ask you about money?" It was a revealing moment. I realized that for the next generation, I was no longer just the fun uncle who knew about computers. Now I was the rich uncle you have to treat well. I decided to make some changes. I started setting clearer boundaries about when and how we discuss financial matters at family gatherings. I instituted a rule: no talking about business or money during family meals. That time is just for being family. I also started giving more moderate and appropriate gifts, so celebrations wouldn't become exhibitions of my financial capacity. Today I can say I found a balance. My family respects me, really respects me, not just for my money, but for what I've achieved. They no longer give me cheap soaps, but they also don't treat me solely as a walking ATM. Rick completely paid off his loan last month and invited me to dinner to celebrate. For the first time in years, we had a brother-to-brother conversation, not lender to debtor. He told me about his plans to expand his practice and asked for advice, not money, but genuine professional advice. Sophie is considering buying out my share of the business to have complete control of her company. She's saving up to do it, and I'm proud to see her determination to be independent. My parents still consult me about important decisions, but now they also ask me about my personal life, my plans, my dreams beyond money. And me, well, I'm no longer the invisible brother. I'm also not just the rich one in the family. I'm Alex, the brother who turned out to be more capable than anyone had imagined, including myself. In the end, it turns out the best revenge isn't just proving you were right, but also knowing when to stop proving it. Who would have thought emotional maturity would be part of the package? The most important lesson I learned from all this isn't that money solves family problems. It doesn't. The lesson is that sometimes you have to defend your worth, even to your own family, especially to your own family. Those cheap soaps are still in my bathroom, on the highest shelf. I don't use them, but I don't throw them away either. They're a reminder of where I started this story and how far I've come, not just financially, but in terms of self-respect and family respect. Sometimes when I'm getting ready in the mornings, I see them and smile, because at the end of the day, those cheap soaps were the catalyst for one of the best transformations of my life. And now every Christmas when we exchange gifts, We all know it's no longer about the price of the gift. It's about the respect, consideration, and real love behind it. Rick gave me a Mont Blanc pen last year with a note that said, "For the brother who always had more smart words than we thought." Sophie made me a photo album with all our family memories and a dedication. "To the brother who taught us that real success isn't about what you have, but what you do with what you have." My parents gave me something even more valuable, a sincere apology and the promise to never again underestimate any of their children, and I gave them what I had always wanted to give them, the complete version of myself, the son they had all along but hadn't known how to see. And that's my story, everyone. What do you think? Do you believe I went too far with the revenge, or that my family deserved it? Have you lived through something similar where people underestimated you and then had to eat their words? I'd love to read your experiences in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear that. Sometimes the ugly duckling turns out to be a millionaire swan. On your screen right now, you have another equally shocking story about families who didn't value what they had until it was too late. Click on it and stay with me on this channel where family justice always finds its way. See you in the next video.